You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. I was elbow deep in invoices and insurance paperwork when my phone started buzzing. Dana's name lit up the screen. It was Tuesday. She always called during her Pilates class around noon to check in. Nothing about it felt off at first. I hit speaker, still staring at a stubborn Excel cell. "Joe," she said. Her voice was clipped, no small talk, not even a hey. "What's up?" I asked, finally glancing at the screen. There was a pause. Then, "I want a divorce." I froze. "What?" "I've already hired a lawyer. You'll be hearing from him this week. From now on, all communication will go through him." "Dana, what the hell are you talking about?" "I think it's pretty clear." Her tone was ice. "I don't want to have this conversation. Goodbye." The line went dead. I just stood there, hands still hovering above the mouse, phone still lit up like I was expecting it to come back to life. No emotion, no fight, just business. Before we go any further, quick note, share which city or country you're watching from. I stared at the wall for a few seconds, heart pounding in my ears. The silence felt heavy, like I just stepped out of a wreck, but hadn't figured out what hit me yet. Her tone wasn't upset. It wasn't even angry. It was like she was canceling a credit card. Professional, cold, practiced. The way she said already hired. Yeah, this wasn't a decision made over lunch. I reached for the desk, hand shaking slightly, and grabbed the phone again. Checked the call log. 41 seconds. That's all it took to nuke 13 years. 13 years. Gone like a voicemail. There was a knock at the door. Melissa, my assistant, poked her head in. "Hey, you okay? You look like you saw a ghost." I pressed my lips together and put the phone down. "Yeah. Family stuff." She nodded slowly, like she didn't quite believe me. "All right, just checking." She closed the door behind her, and I stared out the window, watching traffic blur across Van Buren Street. A bead of sweat rolled down the back of my neck. The fluorescent lights buzzed louder than usual. I finally stood, grabbed my keys, and walked out without saying another word. I drove straight home. Didn't text, didn't call, didn't even bother going back into the office to shut down my desktop. The house was dead quiet when I walked in. Something about the air hit me the second I opened the door. Colder, like someone had cracked a window. The entryway smelled like lemon cleaner and fake lavender, like someone had been scrubbing away their tracks. I dropped my keys in the bowl and turned toward the living room. Gone. Throw pillows Dana used to obsess over. Gone. The thick knit throw blanket from her sister. Gone. Even the weird coffee table books she never read but always displayed. All of it gone. I walked slowly toward the kitchen. Our wedding photo wasn't on the wall. Neither was the frame quote she loved. "Start each day with a grateful heart." I kept moving. Bedroom next. When I flipped on the light, it felt like walking into a hotel room someone had just checked out of. Her side of the bed was made perfectly, smoothed out like no one had touched it in days. Her closet door stood wide open, empty. Not one dress, blouse, shoe, or scarf. Not even a single goddamn hanger left behind. I opened the drawer in her nightstand. Empty, vanity, cleared out. All the expensive skincare jars and brushes and lipsticks she used to line up like soldiers. Wiped out. That's when I saw it. The Rolex I gave her on our 10-year anniversary. Just sitting there on top of the dresser. Gold band, black face, still ticking. She didn't forget it. She left it. That was the part that hit me in the gut. That wasn't carelessness. That was deliberate. Like it didn't mean a thing to her anymore. Like she was trying to say, keep your stupid gifts. I walked over to the bar cart by the window and poured myself 2 fingers of whiskey. Sat down in the chair by the bed and stared at that damn watch like it could give me answers. She'd been planning this. Not just for a few days. Weeks, probably months, that Pilates call. Bullshit. She wasn't at the gym. She was halfway through executing a clean break. She'd cleaned out everything that mattered to her and left behind the things that didn't. And I didn't even see it coming. I took a sip. Then I started thinking. 3 months ago, she started locking her phone. Said it was because of some client confidentiality stuff. Right. Dana was in interior design, not the CIA. She'd started staying late at her office, taking client dinners that ran past 10, sometimes midnight. Said the Scottsdale crowd was picky and demanding. Liked meetings at restaurants. I bought it. Then there were the charges, a necklace from Tiffany's, for her sister's birthday, a 2-night stay at the Canby in Biltmore. She said it was a girls' spa weekend. Even when it didn't make sense, I didn't question it. Hell, a few weeks ago, she ordered a $1,200 pair of boots online. Said it was a sample she had to review for a client's wardrobe room. That didn't even sound like something people say. And I still nodded along like a dumbass. I stood up, still holding the glass, and walked back over to the closet. That empty space hit harder than I expected. Like she'd just erased herself from the house. Or from me. No notes, no goodbye. Just the Rolex, ticking quietly on the dresser like it was waiting for something. I grabbed it and shoved it in the top drawer of my nightstand. She wasn't coming back for it. That much was obvious. I went downstairs, poured another drink, and sat at the kitchen island. This time, I didn't stare at anything. I pulled my laptop out, opened it, and logged into our bank. If she wanted to play this like a business transaction, fine. I'd handle it like one. The numbers loaded slower than usual. Or maybe my hands were just shaking that bad. Our joint account popped up first, the main one we used for household stuff, vacations, and anything big. Balance wasn't alarming at first glance, but the transaction list, that's where it started. The first thing that stood out was a hotel charge. Ritz-Carlton, Paradise Valley, 2 nights, just under $1,800. Listed under my card. I sure as hell wasn't there. I opened a notepad and started writing it all down. Date, amount, vendor cross. Referenced it with my calendar. That weekend I was in Flagstaff, a regional install job with one of our commercial fleets. I kept scrolling. Fleming's, Ocean 44, Mastro's. None of them were places Dana and I went to. She always said she didn't like overpriced steakhouse vibes. Guess that changed. Then I saw it. 2 charges at Cartier, same week, $3,200 and $4,900. One was labeled gift purchase. The other said engraving. I sat back in the stool, staring at the screen like it had punched me in the face if I blinked. The timeline was adding up real fast. All those nights she said she was too tired to talk or working late. Apparently she had plenty of energy for seafood towers and designer bracelets. I dug into our savings next. That's where I noticed the transfers. At first, they were small, a few $100 here and there, labeled as budgeting or missing. I barely noticed them at the time, but over the last 6 weeks it ramped up. $2,000, then 5, then 10, all sent to her personal account. The one she opened just for freelance deposits last year. The day after our anniversary dinner, a dinner she barely touched her food at, she moved $15,000. 3 days after that, another $7,500. This wasn't random, this was strategic. She'd been bleeding the account slow and steady, like siphoning gas from a car she planned to steal later. I opened our AMEX. Dana was an authorized user. I hadn't checked that account in over a month. What I found made my stomach turn. 2 tickets to a jazz concert in Sedona, a stay at Enchantment Resort, $2,600, bottle service at some downtown lounge, and then a charge from Villa 7, some high-end private chef experience that wasn't even in Arizona. That one hit during the same weekend. I was at a trade show in Vegas. Every charge came with a timestamp, and every single one lined up with times I was out of town or pulling 15-hour days in the shop. She knew when I'd be gone. She planned her little vacations around my calendar. I opened a spreadsheet and started logging everything. I wasn't even angry yet. Not the yelling kind, anyway. This was something colder, calculated. I'd been bankrolling her new lifestyle. And maybe her new boyfriend, too. I pulled out a folder from the cabinet, labeled it Divorce, Financial, and started printing page after page. Charges, transfers, statements, timelines. Color-coded everything. Blue for shared expenses, red for shady shit. The printer ran nonstop for 20 minutes. When I finally looked up, the floor around my desk was littered with paper stacks. I hadn't moved, just clicked, printed, sorted, repeated. I went into our business account next. She never touched that. Or so I thought. Turns out 3 transfers hit that account last month. 2 from Dana's personal bank. One was $6,000. Another was $9,800. The third, $12,500. I checked the note on the last one. Loan repayment, per agreement. Agreement. We never had a damn agreement. This wasn't repayment. This was repositioning. She'd stashed enough to walk clean, probably figured she could argue it later as some kind of joint investment claim. That's when it hit me. This was her financial exit plan. She was setting the board weeks ago, separating herself from me $1 at a time, like she was prepping to vanish. Or worse, take me to court and act like none of it was shady. Well, screw that. I walked over to the supply closet, pulled out a portable drive we used for backups, and started dumping files onto it. Bank records, credit card statements, flagged receipts, screenshots of calendar overlaps. Everything she thought she'd hidden. I was lining it up like ammo. I made copies of every printed file, one set for me, one for my lawyer whenever I picked one. She thought I'd fold, that I'd roll over and let her walk away with a Rolex and half my life. Not happening. When the drive finished copying, I sealed it in a zip bag, labeled it, and shoved it in my safe. Then I poured myself another drink, lit a cigar from the stash she always hated, and started planning what came next. The next morning, I was nursing black coffee at my desk, documents still spread out like a crime board, when an email popped up. Subject, meeting request, Hanover Law Group. I clicked it open. Mr. Eyes. Joseph Rayner, per request from our client Dana Rayner, we would like to schedule a preliminary divorce negotiation meeting at your earliest convenience. Attorney Charles Hanover will be representing Mrs. Rayner. Hanover. Of course. That name slapped something loose in the back of my brain. I knew it. It took a second, but then it hit. 6 years ago. Zoning dispute. Warehouse lease. I fought the city over. Hanover was the slick-ass attorney trying to muscle me out on behalf of a developer, and I buried him. I showed up to the zoning hearing with every statute, every easement map, every loophole he didn't expect me to catch. Took his smug little plan apart line by line. Guys stormed out before the ruling, and now Dana had him on speed dial. I replied to the assistant with a single line, "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., I'll come to him." Scottsdale, high-rise office, top floor. Exactly where I figured a guy like Hanover would perch. The lobby reeked of citrus polish and money. The receptionist barely looked at me, just buzzed me in like she was expecting trouble. When I stepped into the conference room, Hanover was already sitting there. Navy suit, silver tie, Mont Blanc pen in hand. Didn't stand. Just glanced at me over his glasses. "Mr. Rayner," he said, "I appreciate your punctuality." I sat across from him and gave him nothing. "I imagine this situation is difficult for both parties," he continued. "My client is requesting a swift and amicable division of assets. She's expressed a strong preference to avoid litigation." I smirked. "Is that so?" "She's willing to waive claims on certain business interests if the remaining shared assets, including the home and liquid accounts, are divided equitably." I leaned back, tilted my head. "You don't remember me, do you?" He blinked. "Should I? Warehouse zoning, City of Tempe. You tried to block my expansion in 19. There was a beat. Then his eyes shifted, just for a second. "You were the contractor who self-represented. Self-represented, and still beat your ass on record." He shifted in his chair. I watched his hand tighten slightly on that overpriced pen. "Well," he said, clearing his throat, "in this case, we hope to resolve things without such friction." I leaned forward, voice low. "Let me be real clear, Charles. Dana can lawyer up with whoever she wants. You, some white shoe Manhattan shark, I don't care. But if you think I'm walking into this blind, you're dumber than you were in that zoning hearing." He opened his mouth, closed it again, then pushed a folder toward me. "This is a preliminary offer." I didn't touch it. "You ever wonder why she hired you? It wasn't just to win. It was to rattle me. Bad move." He shifted again, face losing color, just a touch. "I'm not here to be intimidated," I said. "I'm not here to settle quick. And I'm sure as hell not handing over anything until I've had my turn." Hanover gave a stiff nod. "Of course. You're entitled to legal counsel. I advise you move quickly." I stood up, slow and calm. "Oh, don't worry, I will." As I walked to the door, I looked over my shoulder. "Tell Dana next time she hires someone to take me down. Maybe pick someone who doesn't already have a loss on their record." I didn't wait for a response. Elevator ride down, I didn't say a word. Just watched my reflection in the mirrored wall. The game had started. And this time, I wasn't showing up late. I got back home, hung my keys up, and didn't even take my boots off. went straight to the safe in the upstairs closet. Bottom shelf, behind the old tax boxes and warranty folders. Same place it had sat for over a decade. The manila envelope Dana called just a formality back when we got engaged. She'd been all smiles then. "It's nothing, Joe." My dad insists on it. "Trust me, it's boilerplate stuff." At the time, I didn't care. I wasn't marrying her for money. I didn't have any, and she already had plenty. So I signed without blinking. Now. That piece of paper had a whole different weight. I spun the dial, opened the door, and pulled it out. Thick, stapled, yellowed just a little at the edges. I brought it downstairs, laid it flat on the kitchen table, and started flipping through. Section 4, Assets. Section 5, Income Projections. Section 6. That's where my eyes stopped. Clause 6.2. Marital misconduct resulting in extramarital affairs, as defined by Section 8.1, shall result in forfeiture of claim to any shared business interests, liquid savings accounts, and property acquired post-marriage. I read it again, then again. My thumb stopped tapping the table. I leaned back, heart beating harder than I expected. If I could prove Dana cheated, I mean legally prove it, she wouldn't get a damn cent of the business. No stake in the house, no part of the commercial accounts, nothing from what we built during those 13 years. It was right there, in her own prenup. The same document she pushed in front of me with that sweet smile, telling me it was just in case, because her parents were traditional and liked to be careful. She practically handed me the sword to take her down. I started scanning each page, clean, crisp PDFs, stored directly onto a secure drive. Labeled everything by section, by clause, backed up twice. Then I made 2 printed copies, one for my attorney, one for my file. This wasn't petty. This wasn't revenge. This was survival. She wasn't just trying to leave me. She was trying to strip me down to nothing and walk away like none of it mattered. I had no doubt she'd try to spin it, say I was controlling, distant, maybe even aggressive. People like Dana know how to perform for lawyers, for judges. But paper doesn't lie. And this? This was ironclad. I remembered the meeting with her parents before the wedding. Her dad sipping scotch, talking about protecting legacy wealth, and keeping emotions out of long-term planning. Dana had chimed in like it was no big deal. "It's not about trust, Joe. It's about structure." Structure? Yeah. Funny how structure always comes back around when you screw with the foundation. I flipped to the signature page. Both our names, neat and clean. Witnessed, notarized, dated 2 weeks before the wedding. Then I pulled out a pen and underlined the clause. Twice. If I could just prove what I already knew in my gut, that she wasn't just cheating emotionally, but physically, that clause turned everything. It wasn't about suspicion anymore. It was about proof. I opened a drawer and grabbed a notepad. At the top, I wrote, evidence targets. Then I started listing hotel receipts, duplicate travel timelines, phone records, photos, messages. Whatever I had to find, I'd find it. She wanted this to be clean, professional, sterile. Well, now it was. And I had a contract with her name on it that said loud and clear, if she strayed, she paid. I slid the prenup back into a hard plastic sleeve and put it in a new folder, separate from the financial one, labeled it primary weapon. Then I set it right next to the safe, not inside. I wanted to look at it every day, remind myself this wasn't just a betrayal, it was an ambush. But she miscalculated. She thought I'd play nice, fold early, cut my losses. She forgot who I was before all this, before the houses, the cars, the business. I was a builder, a grinder, a fighter, and I just found the blueprint to burn her entire plan down. I kept the folder in arm's reach and started digging again. First stop, Dana's laptop. She'd left it behind, probably thinking I wouldn't touch it. Or maybe she was just that confident she'd already won. Bad call. She used the same password she always had, her sister's birthday. I was in within 30 seconds. I went straight for her email. The inbox was clean, too clean, but the trash folder, that was full of gold. A hotel booking confirmation under my name, the Canby again. She'd used my rewards account, probably thinking I'd never notice. The date lined up with one of the charges I already flagged. A double room, 1 guest. Same day I was in New Mexico fixing a windshield calibration and screw up for a fleet deal. Then I hit the calendar app. Private events were tagged with initials. SM Dinner, SM Meeting, SM Charity Gala. The name popped up 5 times over the last 2 months alone. SM. It didn't click at first, but then I remembered the gala last spring. The one she insisted I skip because it's all her world, not mine. I went anyway. That's where I met him. Sean Morrison, slick talker. Rolex too big for his wrist. Kept brushing my shoulder like we were friends. Called me bro 3 times in 5 minutes. He invested in boutique restaurants that never seemed to turn a profit. I remember thinking the guy gave off snake oil vibes. Dana introduced him like he was some harmless charity donor. But I saw how he looked at her. Too long, too direct. I'd written it off. Now I knew better. I checked the shared iCloud account next. Dana was dumb enough to sync her photos without checking the settings. There they were, her and Sean on a beach. Not Mexico. Looked like Malibu, champagne. His arm around her waist, her lips on his neck. That wasn't consulting. Then another one, her in a hotel mirror, red dress, phone up, captioned, "He's asleep. You're a monster. I love it." Timestamp, 1 a.m. Same weekend as the work retreat she told me she couldn't miss. I almost dropped the phone. I walked to the closet and opened her old gym bag. I hadn't touched it since she left. Inside, underneath a change of yoga clothes and an unused deodorant stick, I found a second phone. Burner style, no lock screen, battery still half full. The text thread was still open. Sean, he really has no idea. Dana, none. He's still thanking me for managing the bills. Sean, you're savage. I love it. Dana, he's gonna fold like laundry. Watch. I scrolled through the messages, photos, voice notes. One from Dana, whispering, "He's working late again. We've got all night." Then giggling. I sat on the bed, gripping that phone so tight I thought it might crack. This wasn't just a fling. This was coordinated, planned, a campaign. They were mocking me, laughing behind my back like I was some idiot dragging himself through 12-hour shifts to keep their secret funded. I plugged the phone into my laptop and dumped everything. Screenshots, recordings, every timestamp and message log. Cross-referenced it with my bank statements and travel calendar. It all synced. I made a new folder. Sean and Dana. Proof. Then I went deeper. Turns out Sean's restaurants were tanking. Fast. Both had D ratings with the health department. One had shut down last quarter. He'd posted on LinkedIn about launching a consulting brand and lifestyle investing. Whatever that means, I printed articles, Yelp reviews, even a photo someone posted of cockroaches on one of his plates. This wasn't a man Dana fell for. This was a man she bet on. A guy with just enough charm to fake success and just enough desperation to latch onto her money, or mine. I added everything to a backup drive, created a master index, clean, time-stamped, backed up twice. My printer nearly ran out of ink before I was done. When I finished, I sat there in silence, just staring at the folder. They thought they were untouchable, that I'd panic, collapse, maybe even beg. They didn't plan for this version of me, the one that doesn't yell, doesn't scream, just builds his case like a slow-moving wrecking ball. I lit another cigar, pulled up my calendar, and started looking for my lawyer. Game on. I was on my second coffee at Copper Star when she walked in. Didn't look like much. Mid-30s, jeans, gray hoodie, hair tied up, like she just rolled out of a staff meeting. No makeup, no drama. But the second she locked eyes with me, I knew she wasn't here by accident. She walked right up to my table. "Joe," I nodded, halfway standing. "Yeah." "I'm Jenna. I work for Sean." I didn't offer a seat, didn't have to. She sat anyway and slid a small black USB drive across the table like it was a damn movie deal. "I don't want money," she said. "I just want to be done with both of them." I picked it up slowly. "What is this?" "Everything." Her voice was sharp, clipped. 6 months of emails, text logs, calendar invites, flight confirmations, hotel bookings, recordings too. I forwarded stuff to that drive every time they pissed me off. She glanced around the cafe like she wasn't sure if someone followed her. "I was dumb enough to think Sean would let me buy into one of his fake businesses," she added. "Turns out I was just his babysitter, while he blew through money that wasn't his." I sat back, turning the drive between my fingers. "So why me?" Because Dana said you were too dumb and loyal to fight back. Her words, not mine. I didn't flinch, but inside, something tightened. She kept going. She used to brag about how easy it was. That you never asked questions and would roll over like a good boy when the papers hit. I got sick of hearing it. How do I know this isn't just more smoke? I asked. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small recorder. Hit play. Dana's voice, clear as glass. Joe's too soft. He won't push back. If anything, he'll probably apologize. Then Sean's laugh, ugly, nasal. Perfect. Keep him thinking we're just networking. She hit stop and tossed it down next to my coffee. I kept backups, she said, in case I ended up in the crossfire. But I want out. I want a normal job. And I want them both out of my life. I looked at her for a long second. She wasn't bluffing. She looked tired, drained, like someone who'd spent too long holding someone else's secrets. Thank you, I said. Seriously? Don't thank me, just win. Wipe that smug grin off Sean's face before he crashes another investor dinner, pretending he's still relevant. She stood, pulled her hoodie up, and turned to leave, then stopped halfway. One more thing, she said. They booked a suite next weekend. Scottsdale waterfront. Dana told him it was their celebration trip. Her words. Celebration of what? Cleaning you out. I didn't say a word, just nodded. She left. I pocketed the drive, grabbed the recorder, and tossed the last inch of cold coffee down the sink on my way out. Next stop? My attorney. Hanover's assistant tried to stall me in the lobby. Mr. Hanover isn't... He's expecting me, I cut her off, stepping right past her desk. Second time now. Let's not pretend this is a surprise. I took the elevator up, same as before. Top floor, polished chrome, fake plants, overpriced furniture, same smug energy in the air, except this time, I wasn't the one walking in blind. Hanover was already seated when I entered the conference room. No smile, just that same stiff posture and overconfident pen. Mr. Rayner, he said, nodding, I assume you're here to discuss counterterms. No, I said, dropping a folder onto the table. I'm here to end this. He didn't touch it, just looked down at the tab. Rayner divorce, legal standing. I took a seat and opened the folder myself, pulled out the prenup. Slide it forward. Section 6.2, I said, infidelity clause. She violates it. She forfeits everything she's claiming. He adjusted his glasses, pretending to read. He already knew what it was. I dropped a second folder beside it. Bank records, transfers, joint account abuse, misuse of business funds. He blinked, barely, but I caught it. Third item, USB stick. I placed it down gently like it was a loaded weapon. This is from someone in Sean Morrison's camp, I said. Includes messages, photos, travel confirmations. Dana and Sean have been seeing each other for over 6 months. Hanover cleared his throat. Mr. Rayner, these matters can be sensitive. I pulled out my phone, hit play on a voicemail, Dana's voice. He's clueless. I'll clean him out before he even blinks. Then Sean. He'll fold. They always do. I hit stop. Hanover's face dropped a full shade. I can have this all filed in court by tomorrow, I said. Once a judge sees the clause and the timeline, Dana walks away with nothing but whatever's left in her personal savings. He leaned forward, voice lower. Joe, if I may... You can't, I snapped. You can only listen. He froze. I know Dana hired you to scare me, I said. And maybe you would've, if I hadn't kept records. But I did. And now we both know who's holding the grenade. He shifted in his seat, finally reaching for the USB. There's no reason this can't be handled discreetly. There is, I said, because she didn't just cheat. She tried to rob me, cold, and now I've got enough documentation to bury this thing in litigation for a year, if that's what it takes. He went quiet. His fingers tapped the table once, twice, then stopped. I assume you're proposing a counteroffer. I'm not proposing, I said. I'm telling. He looked up, dead serious. What are your terms? She walks with nothing from the business, no stake, no future claims. She covers her own legal fees, and she eats the infidelity penalties, per the prenup. He hesitated. And if she refuses? I go to court. We file discovery. I bring in Jenna. We play voicemails in front of a judge. I ruin her reputation, and yours takes a hit too, for bringing a fraud case this far. He let out a long breath, first honest breath of the meeting. I'll advise my client immediately, he said, voice quiet now. Good, I replied, standing. Because the next time we sit down, it'll be in a courtroom. And I don't mind wearing a suit. As I walked out, I didn't look back. The elevator doors slid shut, and I could still see Hanover sitting there, shoulders stiff, fingers steepled like he was praying. Let him pray. I was done playing nice. The email hit my inbox at 9:02 a.m. Subject line, amended terms, Dana Rayner. I opened it, skimmed the PDF. Right at the top, bolded. Client withdraws all claim to Joseph Rayner's business holdings, investment accounts, and real estate properties. Her new lawyer, some soft-spoken guy out of Mesa, tried to dress it up as a mutual decision to avoid prolonged litigation. Total crap. He knew they were cornered. They offered her car, some furniture, and a small cash payout. Not even enough to buy back one of those Cartier bracelets. I signed it, scanned it, and sent it back with one note. Per clause 6.2, monthly penalties begin 30 days from today. That afternoon, Dana showed up at my office. Didn't call, didn't text, just walked in like she still owned part of the place. Melissa buzzed me. She's here. Want me to ... No, I said. Send her in. She stepped through the door wearing a black blazer, designer bag in hand. Hair done, makeup perfect. But her eyes looked shot. Red-rimmed, swollen, like she hadn't slept in days. I didn't stand. She didn't sit. This is what you wanted, she snapped. To humiliate me, to ruin my future. I leaned back, kept my voice calm. No. I wanted a wife who didn't lie and steal behind my back. But since I didn't get that, this is what happens instead. You didn't have to take it this far. You didn't have to cheat, I said. You didn't have to plan an exit like I was a business you were liquidating. She looked down for half a second. That was new. I made mistakes. Don't, I cut in. Don't try to spin it now. You spent months laughing at me behind my back. You left me a Rolex like it was a tip. And now that it didn't go your way, you want sympathy. I lost everything. No, I said. You gave everything up the minute you chose Sean. That hit hard. She swallowed, blinked fast, then sat down like her legs gave out. Sean's gone, she mumbled. He blocked my number. One of his restaurants shut down last week. He told me it wasn't personal. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. She looked around the office like it was a museum of a life she used to have. You're really not gonna bend? She asked, almost like a whisper. I shook my head. The paperwork's signed. The judge has it. You'll get your statement every month, just like the prenup says. She covered her face with both hands. Shoulders shook. I didn't know if it was crying or just the last gasps of control slipping through her fingers. I stood up, walked over to the door, and opened it. We're done here, Dana. She stood slowly, walked past me without a word. Right before she reached the exit, she stopped, turned around. You're not the man I married, she said. No, I replied. That guy trusted you. This one learned better. She didn't respond, just walked out. By the end of that week, the court finalized everything. Settlement locked, business protected. Dana walked with almost nothing. The infidelity clause kicked in like a hammer. Monthly payments from her to me for the next 7 years. Taxed, documented, enforced. And just like that, her perfect little plan turned into a warning story. 1 year later, I was sitting in my new office on the 24th floor of a downtown high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling windows gave me a view clear out to South Mountain. The sunlight bounced off every hood, every rooftop. Phoenix looked clean from up here, controlled. The company had doubled in size. 2 new shops, steady fleet contracts with 3 dealerships, and a new warehouse breaking ground next month. I still started my day early. Still checked inventory myself when I wanted to. But now I had a full-time GM, 2 regional leads, and an accountant who didn't miss a single damn thing. Melissa walked in with a tablet in one hand, coffee in the other. She didn't even sit anymore, just leaned on the doorframe like she owned the place. You see the alert yet? She asked. Which one? She smirked and handed me the tablet. Dana's working retail now, some boutique in Scottsdale Quarter. Friend of mine saw her folding dresses. I raised an eyebrow. Seriously? She looked humbled, Melissa said. Like life slapped the makeup off her. I didn't respond, just took the coffee and nodded. Then my phone buzzed. Auto transfer alert. Deposit received, $2,250. Court-ordered monthly penalty. Dana Rayner. Right on time. Again. Melissa peeked at the screen. Want me to flag it? No, I said. It's fine. Let it hit. She started to leave, then paused. You want lunch from Chop Shop or somewhere else? Surprise me. She left, and I leaned back in my chair, watching traffic crawl down Central Avenue. Sean Morrison had filed for bankruptcy 3 months ago. His last restaurant shut its doors with unpaid vendors, health code violations, and a landlord lawsuit attached. I heard he skipped town, Vegas or Miami, nobody knew. I opened my laptop, clicked through emails, cleared 5 of them in under a minute. No drama, no surprises, just business. I wasn't bitter, not anymore. Bitterness burns out. What I felt now was clean, cold, focused. Dana underestimated me. Sean laughed at me. Now I sat above all of it, higher, stronger, sharper than they ever expected. I clicked out of the banking app, closed the laptop, and stood up. There was still work to do,